I can see the angel coming for to sing his song. I can hear the drummer drumming. He's coming, and it won't be long. Hear the cry across the nations. People wanna be free, yeah. Free to leave the great plantations. Free to be who they want to be. I see it sweet sound of freedom, and it won't be long.
Good morning, everybody. It's Everett with Ohio for Freedom, and it is the 9th of August in the year of our Lord 2021, and you have tuned into the Ohio for Freedom podcast. Want to say hi to everybody that has been blowing up my inboxes over the weekend. Thank you. I'm trying to get to everything. Today, I want to talk about some more filth on Fauci, and I want to talk about virtual worship, and I want to talk about Facebook, and I want to talk about some eerie, creepy connections that are just, well, they're just kind of unsettling here. And so let me just jump right in because we're really pressed for time today. And but before I do, I want to say that I was on the phone with Pastor Dan Chapman earlier this morning. We are really looking forward to our first Ohio for Freedom rally on the 18th and 19th of September. And so if it is at all possible for you to be there, we would love to see you, love to meet you, love to shake your hand, and just love to share a great time of truth and freedom with you. And so we're really looking forward to that. And so please like, please share, please subscribe. If you are on Facebook, please leave a comment. Mr. Zuckerberg absolutely hates comments because his algorithms aren't as effective against comments as he would wish they were. If you are on YouTube, please share. We have such a small following on YouTube compared to other platforms, but we still want to hang in there with YouTube for a little bit. But that being said, besides the fact that you really need to call your mom right now and ask her to please like, please share, please subscribe, we're going to get started. And good morning, Carol. I touched on this in the last episode, but we didn't have time to do it justice. And so I'm going to immediately jump into today's lead topic, and it is more filth on Fauci. And so I want to refer you to an article that is dated August 5th, 2021 from LifeSite News. And this is the title that's on the screen right now. Did Fauci knowingly fast track approval of a drug with deadly COVID-like side effects? Now, keep in mind, you know what platform we are on mostly. So we got to dance around a little bit. Unfortunately, we are talking on the enemy's party line. But I'm going to replay a portion of a video that I shared last program, and we're going to interrupt it midstream. But I want to go a little bit more into detail. So without further ado, let's just get rolling, and then we'll talk about it.
A trial that the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, which is the institute I direct, sponsored, called the Adaptive Coronavirus Disease Treatment Trial, ACCT-1, was started in February 21st of this year. And it was a randomized placebo-controlled trial. Although a 31% improvement doesn't seem like a knockout 100%, it is a very important proof of concept, because what it is proven is that a drug can block this virus. And I'll give you an example in a moment of why we think, looking forward, this is very optimistic.
Okay, I'm going to jump in right there. And where are we at here? I want to add this. First of all, let me say this. This is like the 29th of April, and Tony Fauci is given, this is a 6-minute clip. The governor of Louisiana was meeting with President Trump, and so he's giving this, and he's coming to the public as though this is like earth-shattering earth-breaking news. However, is what was really prompting him. Now, I do also want you to notice that he said, this is proof that we know that a drug can stop this virus. Is that what he said? So I want to go over here and I want to show you something here, if I can find it without being stymied. So here, once again, this is the article, LifeSite News, and then I'm going to make another reference that I made last program. The document, the SPARS document from 2017, which, if you go through it, it seems to absolutely describe everything that we have gone through, all the ways, the media strategies, the censorship, the propaganda, all of that really describes what we've gone through the last year and a half. And in this SPARS pandemic scenario that was slated for 2025, 2028, they mention that this, brand new coronavirus, emerged, the St. Paul acute respiratory syndrome, so they called it SPARS. And they mentioned that possibly they could repurpose a drug called Colosavir. And so obviously you just see the parallel between Colosavir, remdesivir. Now, I did have someone very bright in the audience point out that the VIR in both of those names would stand for virology or virus related or whatever. So the names being similar isn't necessarily the smoking gun, although it still appears, somewhat that way to me. But here is a point that I don't think you can deny. And that is this: in that SPARS document, and they're trying to repurpose and bring to the forefront of the battle something to combat this SPARS virus that's going on. If you notice, there's one thing or many things missing, and that is anything else that might already be available that might help people. There's, in that scenario, there's no drug, there's no medication, there's no therapy, there's no protocol whatsoever that already exists. Think about it. The thousands and thousands of scientists and doctors that are always researching and always doing what they do. There was nothing on the planet that could remotely help those that contracted this SPARS virus. Nothing already existed. The same way now, just in case you don't know, there's nothing that already exists that could help you with the woohoo flu. Nothing at all. There's nothing like the I medication, the VER medication, the ECTMIN medication. There's nothing like the H medication and the C medication and the Q medication. There's nothing like Bu medication and D medication and Sonide medication. There's nothing. There's nothing. We are just completely, helpless with this. And so there has to be something that has to, come along and maybe be repurposed. But while we're waiting desperately for the hallelujah to the V, but I want to jump back here. Let me get back here, and I want to show you. This is going back into the article, and a couple things we're going to look at in this article. They link an interview that was done with Rainer Fulmuck and his group there with a Dr. Ardis. And this doctor from Texas, Dr. Ardis, points out, and he alleges, face checkers, he alleges that the remdesivir drug has been known to produce some pretty nasty side effects that can look an awful lot like the side effects, the symptoms of the actual woohoo flu. Now I'm going to keep rolling here. So I'm going to ask a question now. So Tony Fauci is coming to the American public with this supposedly great news, although he says it's not that great because 30% may not seem that, like a knockout punch. And I agree with him. It doesn't seem like a knockout punch at all. But when he was coming to the cameras and coming to the American people, was he doing so because he had this wonderful earth-shattering news, or was he doing so because leaks were getting out about it? and he wanted to control the narrative. Now, this is from the same day. Gilead Sciences, the makers of remdesivir, statement on positive data emerging from National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Disease study of remdesivir. So this is dated the 29th. And, you know, there's nothing particularly impressive about it. But now I'm going to go over here, and this is just a screenshot from a WHO report that was done when they did. WHO, now just hang in there with me for a minute. I'll try to pull this together. Did a study supposedly on remdesivir, hydroxychloroquine, lopanavir, and interferon. And basically, if you go further in the study, it says that they were, very, very ineffective. So a couple of things going on here. Tony Fauci likes to lean on the WHO when it's convenient, but in this case, the WHO and their findings were not convenient to Tony Fauci at all. But here's the question. Is Tony Fauci coming to the American people in sincerity? No. Is he coming to because of leaks? Is he coming because of leaks? And folks, I can tell you that he is absolutely coming to the American people because he's trying to get out in front of a link. And so where are we at? I'm going to go over to, this is from the Fauci emails. And the Fauci emails are absolutely quoting an article from Health News. Fauci says leak concerns fueled his White House revelation of Gilead drug results. And so what I want to point out is that one more time, Tony Fauci is being completely disingenuous. That's a polite way to say lying, completely disingenuous with the American people. He's acting as though this is some generic, reaction to good news, when in fact what he's doing is he's being pushed by these leaks. And it reminds me of when he lied to the American people and said there's no reason to wear a mask. And then later he explained that, well, there was, in his mind, was reason to wear a mask, but we need to save the PPE for our frontline professionals. And when he was guilty of doing that, what he was basically saying to the American people is, I can't trust you with the truth. You have to trust me. I'm like daddy talking about Santa Claus. I can't tell you, no, don't rush out and get all this PPE because we need them for frontline workers. I have to lie to you to protect you from the truth. How do you feel about that? I don't appreciate that. I don't appreciate that at all. But when you go through these emails, it makes it, let's get back over here. It makes it very clear that the results of whatever had to do with remdesivir were not very, very impressive, but they were being leaked, they were being spun. And that is the reason that Fauci wanted to get out in front of a camera. And so now I'm going to go back into the clip here, and I'm going to let
mortality rate trended towards being better in the sense of less deaths in the remdesivir group, 8% versus 11% in the placebo group. It has not yet reached statistical significance, but the data needs to be further analyzed.
Well, I mean, how do you even respond to that? It hasn't. It's looking positive, but it hasn't reached statistical significance. I mean, how do those two things? How do you even reconcile that? I mean, it just makes absolutely no sense. I'm going to. The
reason why we're making the announcement now is something that I believe people don't fully appreciate. Whenever you have clear-cut evidence that a drug works, you have an ethical obligation to immediately let the people who are in the placebo group know so that they could have access. And all of the other trials that are taking place now have a new standard of care. So we would have normally waited several days until the data gets further, dot the I and cross the T. But the data are not going to change. Some of the numbers may change a little, but the conclusion will not change. This drug happens to be blocking an enzyme that the virus uses. And that's an RNA polymerase. But there are a lot of other enzymes that the virus uses that are now going to be targets for this. This will be the standard of care. And in fact, when we look at the other trial,
I'm going to stop right there. This will be the standard of care. Now, honestly, please, and if you found it, please send it to me. Can you find any documentation, any article anywhere that says this standard of care using this medication has saved the day? Because I sure can't find it. I sure can't find it. He's saying that is the standard of care. And he says, you know, I would usually wait for the data, but we have an ethical obligation to tell the people that we're given the placebo that it exists. And I know I said this on the last program. Does that make any sense to you? Because this was a study that was began on the 20th of February, and now it's the 29th of April. And so let me use myself for an example. I came down with the woohoo flu really, really bad in February. Would it make any sense for me right now whatsoever to take a medication for something that I'm already over? So at least to me, that absolutely makes no sense. And secondly, how can you track down the road complications if you have given the same thing to the placebo group and the other group? It doesn't make any sense. He's lying, folks. He's lying. And if I can bring it up, I'm going to try to show you. And if not, I'm just going to talk my way through it. But the real problem with all of this is that those four medications, remdesivir, hydroxychloroquine, loponavir, and interferon, guess which two were dropped from that study? They did a similar study in 2018 with Ebola, and remdesivir was dropped because it was killing people. Okay. And if you go through even this information from the WHO study about as relates to COVID, what you find is that there is a real problem with organ damage. So why was Tony Fauci pretending to bring good news when in fact it sure looks to me that he was just reacting to leaks about a study that were not very, very impressive? He goes on to say that it's the standard of care, and then he says, just like with HIV back in 1986, we're going to build on this. And once again, I'm just going to ask you, here we are more than a year on the other side of that. Has any of this turned out to be true? Has this our drug delivered any kind of a knockout punch whatsoever? Because I can tell you, after I had the woohoo flu, it was tough, but I finally drug it out of my doctor, who's with UC Health. And this is me paraphrasing, but basically he told me that if I tested positive and I had lung infection, if there were problems with my lungs, they would watch me. They would watch my oxygen levels. And if it got really, really bad, they'd put me in the hospital. The way that I translate that in my redneck mind is, you ain't going to do nothing, are you? You ain't going to do nothing. So all of this stuff that Tony Fauci said that would be the standard of care was a load of hogwash. And even to this day, I still have people, and it's very disconcerting on a couple of levels because, you know, liability and everything else. But people say, hey, I've been sick for 3 weeks. They're giving me Tylenol. What do I do? Let me ask you a question, ladies and gentlemen. Is there a protocol for treating someone that's recognized by the CDC and NIH to this day? Because if there is, I don't know about it. The protocol seems to be you do nothing. So I hope I've put this in perspective here. I want to move on to another issue, and that is this. If I can pull this up. Found this out over the weekend. Facebook getting involved with religion. Signs contract with mega church as platform's director of global faith partnerships reveals what's coming. What's coming. And you get into the article, and it says that Hillsong Atlanta's opening, developers working for Facebook regularly met with Pastor Sam Collier to explore ways through which, in Diaz's words, who's Elizabeth Diaz is head of, faith outreach for Facebook. Yeah, that makes sense. To explore ways through which, in Diaz's words, the platform can help churches go farther on Facebook. Now I'm going to jump down to the next paragraph. Then in June, according to the New York Times, the church put out a statement saying it was partnering with Facebook, and since then started posting live streams of church services exclusively on Facebook. Now, that's not even the creepiest part. Now, folks, maybe you know the different scandals relating to Hillsong. I don't even want to go there. All right. I don't follow Hillsong. I know about Hillsong. Never been, just never have followed them. But how do you feel about churches partnering exclusively with Facebook? And here's what Facebook wants to do is embed their religious life into the platform, from hosting worship services and socializing more casually to soliciting money. Now, I'm going to come back to that in a minute. It is developing new products, including audio and prayer sharing aimed at faith groups. And I want to read the next paragraph. I just want people to know that Facebook is a place where when they do feel discouraged or depressed or isolated, they could go to Facebook and Mark Zuckerberg, no, never mind. And they could immediately connect with a group of people that care about them. I just want to know, are you feeling creeped out yet? Are you feeling creeped out yet? So let me see if I got this right. Of all the big techs, who's done the most censoring? Who's done the most shadow banning? Who has told you what you can say and what you can't say? And so you're going to partner up exclusively with them. And if you do, what restrictions does that put on what you're able to say? What are you able to say from the platform? Are you able to talk about maybe problems with like November issues, like, issues and like elected? Can you really talk about that? If you have questions about the hallelujah to the V, are you really going to be able to talk about? And so, oh, no, well, there will be no restrictions. You can talk about whatever you want to. Well, first of all, I don't believe that. But let me ask you this. If you partner up exclusively with Facebook, who's to say? Let me ask you a question. Has anybody out there been shadow banned? Has anybody out there been censored? Has anybody out there been in Facebook jail? And if so, when did it happen? Did it happen 3 years ago, 4 years ago? Probably not. Probably happened in the last year. And when it happened, did it, at the first time at least, did it surprise you? The answer for me was absolutely. I couldn't believe it. I have had videos that were fact-checked for things that weren't even in the video. One video, just to see what would happen, I taped a 30-second intro to the same video, posted it, and about 10 minutes later, it was shadow banned, fact-checked for 3 other things that weren't in the video. But where I'm going with this is the restrictions aren't made available all at once. So can you imagine a scenario where a church gets involved exclusively streaming through Facebook, and all's going good and hunky-dory, and you're growing this audience and you're growing this this group of followers, and there's financial contributions that are starting to come in, and it's easier to raise money through that. And then Zuckerberg says, oh, wait a second, you can't talk about transgender. Oh, wait a second, you can't say that homosexuality is a sin. Oh, wait a minute. You can't say that sex outside of marriage is a sin. You can't do that. And if you do, guess what? We're going to restrict you. And when we restrict you, there's a lot of money that comes in from donations through this fan base. But I don't think that I have gotten to the creepiest thing yet. There's a couple of creepisms that are still coming. And by the way, let me say, I just want people to know that Facebook is a place where when they do feel discouraged or depressed or isolated, they can go to Facebook and immediately connect with a group of people that care about them. My wife and I met my brother and his daughter, who drove down from Northern Ohio, and we went to the Oasis yesterday and attended a marvelous service. Now, if I am depressed, going to church is a good thing. If I do feel down, do feel isolated, going to church is a good thing. But we didn't go to church because we were depressed. We didn't go to church because we felt isolated. I find that statement just very, very condescending, but that's not the worst of it here. Now, our hope. This is still this head of global outreach speaking, or maybe this is anyway. This is a Facebook person speaking. Our hope is that one day people will host religious services in virtual reality spaces. Did I say that right? Virtual? I think I did a Tony Fauci. I said in virtual reality spaces as well, or use augmented reality as an educational tool to teach their children the story of their faith. The story of their faith. The story of their faith. Is your faith a story? Is it just a story? How do you feel about virtual reality in your worship services? I just want to know, is that creepy or what? I can tell you what, when I got saved at age 20, those old-fashioned cassette tapes that just had spoken word on them, you know what? Just give me what somebody is saying here. But there's one other thing that I do want to share, and here it is. This is now this Hillsong Pastor Collier. They are teaching us, and we are teaching them. Together, we are discovering what the future of the church could be on Facebook. That's just creepy. Collier did not elaborate further in his conversation with the Times, saying, are you ready for this? He had signed a non-disclosure agreement with the big tech giant. Yeah, I think it's a really good idea to get real involved with Facebook so that not only can they watch what the pastor's doing and monitor the pastor's speech and the leader's speech, but you know what? If you could get all the congregation on there too, then all of a sudden you've got a DARPA kind of profile. And I mean, it's already happening, but this is just kicking it up like several notches. You've got a DARPA profile, an NSA profile, a CIA profile on every member of that church. Yeah, that's real comforting, isn't it? So I just wanted to bring it to your attention. There's a lot more that I can say. I am out of time. Let me just kind of summarize here. Fauci was completely disingenuous when he came to the American people. It was a spin. He said a couple of stupid, ridiculous things. Remdesivir has never become anything that is of any value. It had been rejected in 2018 as being of any real use for Ebola. Why were they pushing it so bad? Well, you know why. And so we'll leave that there. Facebook, relationships with churches, non-exclusives, augmented reality, virtual reality. I think I'll pass. Please like, please share, please leave a comment, and until next, and please say a prayer for Mike Lindell and his team, because the symposium starts tomorrow. And until next time, God bless you, God bless your family, God bless the United States of America, and God bless our beautiful state of Ohio.